Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe my channel. The ink was a secret, a small, dark constellation on the skin just above her ankle. For Alara, whose entire life had been a performance of pristine modesty, it felt less like a tattoo and more like a first, truthful sentence written on the blank page of her body. She sat on the fire escape of her tiny apartment, the city humming a distant, chaotic lullaby below. The evening air was warm, and she rested her foot on the cool iron rail, letting the breeze whisper over the new marking. It was a simple line drawing of a compass, but one pointing in two opposing directions. It ached with a dull, satisfying throb, a physical echo of the internal shift she had enacted. Her childhood home was a place of soft-spoken rules and predictable patterns. The Bates household was a stage, and she had been a supporting player in a long-running production of familial piety. There were uniforms, not of fabric, but of behavior. A certain way to speak, to laugh, to pray. Her identity was a collective heirloom, polished and presented for public admiration. She had been so good at playing her part, she had almost forgotten she was acting. The breaking point was subtle. It wasn't a dramatic fight or a slammed door. It was a Tuesday. She was arranging flowers for the weekly family video, her hands moving with practiced grace, when she looked at the perfect symmetrical bouquet and felt nothing but a vast, hollow emptiness. The colors seemed muted, the fragrance cloying. In that moment, she saw the next 50 Tuesdays stretching out before her, each one an identical, fragrant prison. Leaving was a quiet earthquake. There were tears, of course, and pleas framed as concern. But she had packed a single bag, her hands trembling not with fear, but with a terrifying, exhilarating resolve. The city she moved to was a shock to the system, a cacophony of smells, sounds, and people who didn't know her name. The silence in her apartment was different from the silence at home. This one was full of potential, not expectation. The tattoo parlor had been a threshold. The air smelled of antiseptic and ozone. The artist, a woman with kind eyes and sleeves of vibrant art, asked, "Are you sure?" Alara simply nodded, her throat too tight for words. The buzz of the needle was not a sound of pain, but of creation. It was the sound of a line being drawn, not in sand, but in skin. It was a boundary. It was a declaration. Now, tracing the lines of the compass with her fingertip, she understood its meaning. One needle pointed back, an acknowledgement of the roots she had sprung from. The other pointed forward, toward the uncharted territory of her own choosing. She was not erasing her past. She was integrating it, allowing it to exist alongside the person she was determined to become. Her phone buzzed on the windowsill, a family group chat. A flurry of messages about an upcoming gathering, a potluck, a prayer circle. She saw the notifications pile up, each one a tiny digital tug on the old leash. She imagined the questions if they ever saw the tattoo, the confusion, the disappointment. But the feeling that rose in her now was not anxiety. It was a quiet, unshakable certainty. This mark was not for them. It was a map for herself. A reminder that her true north was no longer dictated by tradition, but the quiet, insistent voice within her that had finally learned to speak. She picked up the phone, her thumb hovering over the screen. Then she placed it back down, screen facing the table. She didn't need to respond. She didn't need to explain. She looked out at the sprawling, glittering city, a universe of choices laid out before her. The compass on her skin was a promise. She was here. She was herself, and for the first time, that was the only role she was ever meant to play.